Thank you. Welcome. My name is Tricia Crowley, and I'm with the League of Women Voters. One of the major missions of the League is to provide information to voters to help them when deciding what candidates they want to vote for office. In this consolidated election of 2025, one of the most important races is for a seat on the Unit 4 school board. This is an interview with Karl Geissler, who is running for a 4-year term on the Unit 4 school board. The interviewers will be Unit 4 high school students who are student ambassadors for the League of Women Voters. The candidate will have a 2-minute, an opportunity for a 2-minute introduction, and we'll have 1.5 minutes per question and 1 minute closing. And the candidates have had an opportunity to see the questions before. So let's start, first start with some introductions. Emma and Kitty, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Kitty Miller. I'm a junior at Champaign Central High School.
Okay.
I'm Emma Constanti. I'm also a junior at Central High School.
Okay. Okay, Karl, you want to start with your opening?
Yes, I'm Karl Geissler, candidate for a 4-year seat on the Unit 4 school board, president or parent of 2 sons, Alex and Jake. Alex graduated in 2022 from Centennial High School and is now an electrical or mechanical engineering student at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, where he also runs track. And my youngest son, Jake, will be graduating in May, and will be attending Washington University St. Louis in the fall, where he'll be studying environmental engineering and also running track. Been a resident of the community since 1993, and been involved on and off with the school district since the mid-90s.
Okay, anything else you want to say about your positions or your
a little bit if there's time. I'm still an active volunteer in the district, currently serving as a volunteer track and field coach at Centennial High School. My wife is also an educator. She is currently an instructor in the sociology department at Parkland College and with the media studies program at the University of Illinois, and is also now working with her doctoral program in kinesiology. So,
okay, all right. We'll start with the questions. Do you want to start, Emma, or Kitty, whatever you've decided?
I'll start. What life experiences and skills do you have that would make you an effective member of the school board?
Kitty, thank you. My professional background, while I have a sport and a coaching background, the last 20 years I've been very involved in the construction industry, working with different manufacturers and contractors, both in negotiation and in contract development, which I believe would make me the only candidate that has outside experience with managing and participating in a construction budget and negotiation. And also, like I said, being a parent of 2 students who have successfully gone all their years through Unit 4 schools. I feel the district does still offer a lot of positives. I just want to make sure that we're doing things and continuing to do things that make this a great and better district for all students.
Okay, Emma?
What do you think are the 3 biggest problems at Unit 4, and what solutions would you offer?
Well, right now, there was an attempt with the consultancy firm to address the lack of a demographic study. That was in about 2022. That demographic study has not been completed, let alone fully initiated. And we do appear to have a misbalance in student distribution and in resource distribution. We need to correct that. Secondly, being somebody that has been involved in construction and facilities, we still have two facilities, Jefferson and Franklin Middle School, that did not receive any renovation in spite of a very generous referendum that was passed, 10 years ago. We still need to address those limitations. And Centennial was underfunded in its construction, and we're now seeing a little bit of that, including a Title IX complaint that is currently being worked through. Lastly, I would like to continue to see improvement in our K through second grade reading and math scores. Some programs have been implemented at the kindergarten level that are doing incredibly well, but it's not good enough. We're still seeing too many, especially kids from marginalized populations, that are not successful in just basic reading and basic math.
Okay.
Do you have any experience, especially volunteer experience, working with children?
Absolutely. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm currently a volunteer track and field coach with both our boys and girls track and field programs. My background, I have my master's in kinesiology, was in developmental sports psychology. So even though I've worked professionally in the business world, I do continue to look for opportunities to help and guide young people, including I'm serving on the board of directors for the Rocket Track Club out of Rantoul, which is an AAU track club that is predominantly made up of Champaign, Urbana, and Rantoul kids.
The public perception is that the current school board is dysfunctional. As a board member, what would you do to help create a functional board?
Well, school boards in general are tough roles. Nationally, everybody attacks their local school board. Our current board has had a sort of a breakdown in respect amongst its members. And we do have an opportunity with essentially 5 fresh members to address that and try to work in a more unified manner. 7 people of 7 different backgrounds and 7 different experiences are not always going to agree. That's actually healthy. We shouldn't all be a rubber stamp, but there needs to be a level of discourse and a level of communication reestablished that has definitely been lost over the last 2 years.
Unit 4 administration had a large number of high-ranking staff leave. Why do you think that occurred?
Combination. That's almost a natural flow, especially when you have a leadership change that occurred with Dr. Boozer. My own opinion, I think some of them that left is actually probably better for the district, because we've had some good replacement employees brought in, and some of it is just it's a leadership thing. Having been through different management changes and leadership changes, some people like the direction that the new leadership bring. Some people decide that it's just not what they want anymore. So I think there's always going to be that whenever, especially when you have leadership change.
Regarding the Unit 4 budget, assuming no new revenue, would you want to reallocate money to other existing programs or new programs? What programs? And if so, where would the funds be taken away from?
That's a challenging question because, one, as a candidate, we don't get the full exposure to the line item budgets. That's usually kept at a corporate level. I do want to see, as I said earlier, if we've already launched a kindergarten program, if there's other revenue that we need to direct towards the remaining programming for, especially first graders and second graders, then we need to do that, because that's collectively, it's good for the overall district. I would like to dig into the current building and maintenance budget, because from the initial construction budget, no money was initially set aside for continuing maintenance. And now that leaves all the schools have needs, including, in a lot of cases, it's roofing or just general, pavement around the schools, but more importantly, we have two facilities that are still utilizing what's considered temporary housing or temporary classrooms. We've got to address that. Those are not environmentally friendly buildings, and we need to correct that.
Are more resources needed for the special education program?
I believe that's something that we need to sort of wait until the full audit is released, whether or not we need more resources. I do know we're currently understaffed in special education, so we need to look at, especially with the upcoming CFT contract negotiation, making sure that we have comparable pay and benefit packages to attract and or continue to retain the special education staff. So there's, whether or not more resources, I can't answer that directly, but just looking at the fact that we are currently understaffed, we do need to address that.
Are more funds needed to address the issue of non-English speaking students and families?
That's being somebody that is the son of a non-English speaking immigrant. I do believe we need to look at that. The challenge is we have a lot of different dialects. This being such an international community with the university, it's not one or two dominant first languages. I just in my involvement with athletics, I mean, the amount of French-speaking Congolese children that I've got to meet, and I don't speak an ounce of French. It's not like if we attracted more Spanish-speaking instructors, that we are going to meet all those needs. I do think it's a matter of going back to the demographic study and completing that demographic study to really figure out where are our deficiencies and resources.
The issue of assigning children to a school is difficult because of the need to balance the desire for neighborhood schools, socioeconomic integration, and transportation. There is the current Schools of Choice program and 4 plans presented by consultants. What are your views on this issue?
Well, I'm in a neighborhood that there is no neighborhood school. I live west of 57 in Glenshire too. So ideally, I would love to see the neighborhood school for all elementary students. But because of sort of unchecked growth and expansion, both north of 74, west of 57, and to a lesser extent to the south, we are going to have to come up with a plan that does allow, or basically address the fact that we have too many neighborhoods that don't have a neighborhood school option. I've reviewed a little bit of the current choice program. I was initially intrigued by the pod proposal because at least it also created, compared to what happened with controlled choice, where in a neighborhood like mine, I could go up and down the street and there would be 5 different buses because students were going to 5 different schools. So we do need to try to create more continuity in what's available for each neighborhood, but we can't just go back to, the random lottery or the controlled lottery system, because that was also taken away from sort of neighborhood development or, just natural relationships because of the just sort of the lack of consistency.
School success is greatly impacted by attendance. How would you increase attendance?
That is, that's a challenging question. Many families have different needs, different pressures. We have at least created, safer school environments, but we can always work towards improving and developing our school cultures. We've provided meals, which does benefit, lunches and breakfast. There's a lot of different things. I mean, at the end of the day, especially for working families, school is a place that they know their children can safely be while they are going to work. So I think it's on the schools, but it's a community issue on how we can better improve attendance. And the schools will play, and the school board will play one role, but we also need to see, what is the park districts doing? What is the city leadership doing? What is county leadership doing to address, whether it's transportation, whether it's facilities, whether it's also just, providing for basic needs. Those are the things, if we have all these basic needs, these basic structures in place, then school is a great place and an attractive place for kids to be.
What can be done to increase student test scores?
That is one. I believe, looking at some of the policies or some of the programs that our superintendent is putting in place, I believe they're addressing that. Especially, we have to get to raising the scores or raising the programming for our early elementary students. At a certain, if we're not reading, if the kids are not reading and testing at grade level by the second grade, it starts to become more and more challenging. We've inevitably, like a lot of school districts, we got into a habit of passing through kids, but then we get them to to graduation, if they even make it to graduation, and they're still lacking the basic tools. So continuing to look at and providing the resources from kindergarten to second grade, we have that chance to improve our overall performance of our students.
Pursuant to Board Policy Section 2.23, the board has the authority to approve the hiring and firing of Unit 4 personnel. Under what circumstances would you further pursue the superintendent's decision to dismiss professional staff?
I think yes, the board employs the superintendent, and only the superintendent. The superintendent is the steward of staff and resources for the whole district. I have a couple of friends that are superintendents, and they more and more they share stories of people who get on the board because they don't like the football coach. They want the football coach fired. That's not the role of the board. Okay. Yes, if there is a flagrant issue and it is not being addressed and it comes to the board's light, then there is the policies and there are the places to correct that or direct that. But when you have over 10,000 students and you have a staff of over 2,000 employees, I don't have the time and the energy to try to micromanage all of those staffing roles. We've employed a superintendent. The superintendent needs to be over the total staffing, including the HR department. That is where the board needs to step in, is if there's gross mismanagement, but until there's evidence of gross mismanagement, we have to trust the superintendent to do their job.
It seems a number of basic questions that board members have asked have gone unanswered. What would you do to make sure board members' questions are answered?
That, in my experience, it is first and foremost developing a relationship with the superintendent. 9 times out of 10 in a management role, you know, it's a 5-minute phone conversation, or it's a 2-minute text, and then you follow the procedures to have a question formally addressed at the board meeting. You know, part of what I believe has happened recently is there has been sort of a breakdown in trust between members of the board and the superintendent and administration. We need to dig into that. Why is this happening? What can be done better?
Under Unit 4's contract with Superintendent Boozer, the school board could terminate the contract 1 year early by acting May 31st, 2025. Would you vote to terminate the contract at that time, and why or why not?
I would not. That would be irresponsible for any new board member. As an employer, especially when you inherit an existing team, the team needs to have a period of time to prove their competence or to demonstrate their ability to work with you. And I need to demonstrate my ability to work with the existing team. You know, to use a business example, even private equity firms, when they acquire a new company, they usually don't shake up or make radical changes at the leadership level for at least 2 to 3 years. They're trying to understand what the business is and who are the right players. And as a new board that's going to have 5 new members, I feel it is my obligation to actually get in, do the work alongside the current superintendent. Now, after a period of time, it becomes apparent whether or not this is a workable situation. We address it. But for people that have not been working on the board to come in and say they're going to terminate is absolutely irresponsible, and I think potentially detrimental to the whole community.
Okay, I think that's the end of the questions. So you've
Excellent.
got 1 minute for closing remarks.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you, especially with the 2 student representatives. I thank you for taking time out of your weekend to do this. I am not a politician. Haven't said I was going to be any intention of being a politician through this. If I wake up on April 2nd and I haven't made the board, I am still going to continue and will joyfully go and serve as a volunteer like I have been for the last number of years between Jefferson Middle School and Centennial High School. I do think this is a critical election. We are putting 5 new members onto a board of 7. So who is ever chosen, this is a great opportunity. If I'm one of them, I will be grateful. And if I'm not, I'm still going to be around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Geissler.
Thank you.
We appreciate everyone who volunteers to run for a public office, and particularly the school board, which is a very difficult office to hold. So thank you for stepping up and taking that step. And thanks to Emma and Kitty for volunteering to ask the questions. And at this point, I guess we're closed.